What's going on, everyone? I'm just a typical average American here today to react and learn about how often do Brits go to the pub. Now, as an American, I've been on a bit of a mission to understand what is a British pub, or better said, what is British pub culture like? And that may seem like kind of a silly question, but believe me, it's not, especially if you live in America where there aren't any pubs, and we basically all compare pubs to American bars and American bar culture, or at least that's what I used to do. Then I did a couple of videos about what pubs are in Britain, and my whole world got flipped upside down. And pubs are so much more than bars, especially American bars. Like, you can go to the pub at any time of day. You might not be there just to drink. You might be there just to drink a whole lot, though. You might go with your family or your children. You might go to hang out. There is so much more to pubs, so much more to do, so much more camaraderie and community. There's so much stuff that's really blown my mind learning more and more about it. But one question I haven't learned much about in regards to pubs is how often do Brits go to pubs? How many times a week? How many times a month? How long do you sit in there? What are you doing in there? These are the questions I need to know. And thankfully, we have a little Reddit discussion here where someone asked, how often do you go to the pub? And we have a whole lot of people from Britain answering that question. Bunch of individual answers, which will hopefully give us, a general understanding, at least. A faint idea of how often some people are going to the pub. My pub is less than a minute walk from where I live. Less than a minute. That's another thing. It seems like people seem to live quite close to pubs. Like, maybe there's more pubs than bars. Because bars in America, it's not like there's one up the street. You know what I mean? It's like, I don't know. This also just reinforces my idea of like it's part of the community or something. It's a good pub, small and friendly with good steaks. Yet the last time I went was in November last year. I haven't set foot. Oh, so this person really hasn't been to the pub in a while, asking the question. Let's see what the people have to say about this, how often they go to the pub. Almost every Saturday morning with the dog after a long walk. With the dog! You can take the dog to the pub. Is that normal? Is that allowed? Well, I imagine it's allowed. Because, or someone's got to arrest this person. No, that's so fun, though. Maybe that's another thing. Pubs are just kind of fun in a different kind of way, too. Bring in your dog. Partially a breakfast treat for us. Saturday morning breakfast? Like you're going to the pub for breakfast. Like, pubs are so different than bars. Like, I'm never going to think that way again. Partially to get the dog used to being in places and around people. He's very shy, but comes along so well. Oh, I bet people at the pub love when people bring their dogs. Actually, that seems like perfect. Huh. Interesting. That's already giving me a really good idea. So this person said once a week, like it's a weekly ritual, but it's a Saturday breakfast thing for that person. That is so interesting, honestly. This thread is a fascinating window into Reddit's user demographics. A lot of people only go to the pub once a month. I probably go 3 or 4 times a week. Probably more. 3 or 4 times a week. Maybe more, maybe 5 times a week. Jeez. Once or twice a week for a swift half? This is a very British sentence. Once or twice a week for a swift half with work colleagues, or a pint at lunchtime on a Friday, and then perhaps in an evening over a weekend with pals, and then possibly on Sunday afternoon for a roast. Man, there is so much packed into just this brief statement. That's like giving me so much insight. I love it. So this person goes 3 or 4 times a week, maybe more. Two times it's like with the work buddies for a pint. You might go for lunch. That's so different than most bars in America, just going for lunch. Some bars offer, like, especially sports bars that have all the TVs set up with sports and whatnot to watch and get all. That's how we have camaraderie in America. Sitting silently in the sports bar, not talking to each other, watching football, American football. A pint at lunchtime. Then perhaps once in the evening over a weekend with pals, and then possibly Sunday afternoon for a roast. So the Sunday for a roast, not exactly sure what a roast means, like roast chicken, roast beef, or if I'm catching up with a mate during the week, I'll probably do so in a pub rather than a restaurant. That's another thing is a lot of people would not necessarily lean towards a bar to go with friends unless, certain kinds of people really enjoy bars and the bar setting, and then a lot of people kind of enjoy restaurants, but I feel like pubs are a lot more of a casual, maybe casual is not the right word, maybe it is though, even more casual atmosphere for all times of the day, to just somewhere to go and really kind of sit casually and comfortably with your buddies, whereas a bar is a little more in America, it's more nighttime. There's like music playing, like a lot of people talking. It can be hard to hear. So very different settings, honestly. This seems is typical for my friend and age group. Interesting. I try to go 2 to 3 times a week. I try to go. Sounds like I try to eat like an apple 2 to 3 times a week. I try to exercise 2 to 3 times a week. I try to go to the pub 2 to 3 times a week, like it's a part of your diet plan or something, like a prescription. I try to go to the pub 2 to 3 times a week. It's a small village pub, so I almost always know someone in there. That's a whole other thing as well. The community aspect, very different. Very, very different. The fact that you can go to, the fact that you might live in a small village and they have a pub and you can go and you'll probably know someone is fascinating and just drives home that community kind of part of the pub culture that I've been alluding to. It's more about the community aspect for me than drinking, and I'd like to support the pub as much. I think it's a real shame a lot of pubs are disappearing, as it's a hub of activity for a lot of smaller areas. And once they go, so does an element of community. Oh, are pubs having trouble? Like smaller pubs? Or is this like very general? Or is this true? Like, are a lot of pubs disappearing? I'm concerned now. I have not heard this. That is a shame, if true. Currently at a pub garden. Pub garden? I've heard that word before. I think it's like is it like the outdoor area of a pub? Does it have to have a garden? Or is it just, I think it's like the outdoor seating area in a pub where you can hang out and be outside, and it might have some plants or something, I think. I've heard of a beer garden as well. Oh, I'm not exactly sure what the pub garden is. Nice try, wife. Oh, they're saying because like their wife made this. How often do you go to the pub? Trying to get everyone to answer that question so they can scold them. Okay. Couple of times a week. Use it or lose it. If you only go once every 6 months, don't complain when it shuts. Oh, that's actually not even joking around. They're saying if you don't go support the pub, they might close down, which is sad if that's true. A couple of times a week. I'm seeing a lot of people saying that they go to the pub a couple times a week, at least, which honestly is a lot more often than the average American goes to a bar. And obviously, it differs from person to person, but I think most people, if you go to a bar in America, it's like on the weekend, probably. And it's like once a week at most, I would imagine. I'm talking on average here. I mean, on average, I'd say most people, especially over a certain age, really aren't going to bars at all. Whereas a pub seems like such a friendly, casual place where you can just get food, right? You don't even have to drink, hang out, see people, chat. That's something that older people still want to be a part of. Whereas in America, like you don't really see older people at a bar. That's not the scene. It's loud and annoying and crazy, and so the pub definitely fulfills like a different little niche, different little part of the community, like a purpose in the community. It's quite an interesting difference. Late teens, virtually every day. Late teens? Late teen couldn't even go to the bar in America. That's funny. Virtually every day as a teenager. Okay. 20s, 4 to 5 times a week. 30s, once a week. 40s, once a month. Yeah, I'd say that's more than the average American for all these goes to a bar. 50s, never. 60s, back to once a day. That's funny. Okay, 20s, 4 to 5. 4 to 5 times a week? Is that true? That would literally be considered like you have a problem. In America, if you're going to a bar 4 to 5 times a week, you have a problem. And that's just because of like the function of what a bar is for in America. It's to drink and get a little crazy. Just a little. But most people here seem to be going to the pub maybe multiple times a week, and that's not considered odd. Used to go to the pub every day. Now haven't set foot in a pub once in the last dozen years. Huh. Uh, why is that? A normal dozen or baker's dozen? Huh. Once a week, these days, on a Saturday. We have a great micro pub in town. What is a micro pub? A great micro pub. I've never heard that word before. Micro pub. Maybe I can look that up as well. A micro pub is a very small, modern, one-room pub. Huh, it's a very small pub. That's actually kind of cool. Does it have, like, very low costs associated with it? It's like if you're in an area that doesn't have room for a giant pub. It's just like a smaller pub. That's kind of cool. I have not heard of that. In town, which has different ales each week. Very friendly and always something going on. Interesting. It's also next to Chinese food, so we order a Chinese and pop in for a pint while we wait. Okay. They also let you bring in fish and chips from the chippy down the road. Oh, we're getting British again here. Oh, I like this sentence. They let you bring in fish and chips from the chippy down the road if you want. But we haven't done that. Cool. Cool. Sounds absolutely tremendous. Wow. Nice. Micro pub, huh? Or did they say how many times they go? Once a week. On a Saturday. Right. Most people seem to be saying at least once a week. And if this is kind of a random sampling of British people, then it's like, that's a lot more often than a random sampling of Americans goes to a bar. For sure. And for the reasons I've already said, it makes sense. The pub is just the community place to be, basically. My local is approximately 10 houses from me. Man, everyone also lives like 200 feet from the pub as well. No wonder you're going 5 times a week. I've lived here since 2003 and never stepped foot inside it. Huh, that's a shame. It has a lager, footy, karaoke, bouncy castle. What on earth does that mean? You have just listed 4 things that would keep me away from a pub. Standard lager, footy. What is footy? Like football? Karaoke, bouncy castle. Bouncy castle, count me in. Now swap that for good beers, no TV, quiz night, kid free. Oh, some people want it to be kid free. That's interesting. That actually makes a lot of sense to me. Now it's making me think, is there an equivalent to bars in Britain where it's not so much a community place? It's where you go to drink and meet people and get a little wild and be loud and a little rowdy and get a little drunk. Is there a place? Is that also pubs? Or are there bars as well? Oh, that just opened a whole different can of worms for me. I don't. Sober for 5 years. All right, congratulations. But I feel like this probably an outlier in what we're trying to figure out right now. How often does the average person go? Once a week, maybe. Right. Between work, friends, my fiance is in a busy week, could easily go 3 to 4 times. Okay, usually once a week, but in a good week, if you're having a good week, uh, 3 to 4 times, that is just wild. And from what I've read, it's like that can include a breakfast visit, a lunch visit, a dinner visit. It could be with a friend. It could be alone on your lunch break. It could be waiting for your Chinese food. There's a lot. Whereas with bars in America, you don't pop in and out like that, really. It's like you plan to go there on the weekend to have drinks and chit chat with friends. It's that kind of vibe. Whereas the British pubs really are like much more versatile, you could say. Most days, whether I'm drinking alcohol or not, see, sometimes people go and don't even drink alcohol. That right there is enough to say pubs are not at all like bars. They're not American bars. We have a local in Southeast London, which has a great group of locals who have become close friends. Nice. Various of us have been on holiday, fixed each other's houses, looked after each other's pets. It's my community. So this person goes most days so they can see their friends, their pub buddies, who they've literally become close friends with just by showing up at the pub and seeing each other that often. Like, the pub is somewhere you can go to, like, maybe meet people, apparently, and not just drunk people or people you plan on never seeing again, but like members of your community. Who, like, that's honestly super cool. Like, there's nothing like a pub that exists in America, and I feel like it would do American communities a lot of good in a way, because it's like a place that is kind of associated with alcohol, but it's like, relax, everyone. Just sit down, relax, have a nice time. We're not going to pound the music, the club music. We're just going to relax. Someone might bring their dog. Someone might have their kids there. You might go with your grandparents or something. That's the kind, it's like a much different, just thinking about it kind of puts me at ease a little bit. Sounds like very cozy. Pubs sound so cozy and nice. Community. I keep seeing that word, community. You might not even drink alcohol. And that's really all necessary for it to make sense that so many people here go 2, 3, 4, 5 times a week. Because that, if you were doing that in America with a bar, that would be unsustainable. It's like, that would just be crazy. Everyone would be like, you need to calm down. You have a problem. Whereas with pubs, it's a totally different connotation associated with it. Hardly ever. If I do, it's to eat. I don't really drink. Spending 100 pounds in a night is silly. Okay. Fair enough. One of the few benefits of living in the north of England is that I can get a pint for £3. Nice. Maybe a couple dozen times in the past 15 years. Okay, so this person goes like once or twice a year. My local shut permanently after 2007. Is that what you call your local pub? Your local? That's fun. Sad that it shut down. Sad to hear about a bunch of pubs shutting down. That's kind of sad. The others within staggering distance had closed. Once upon a time, Sky Sports was more of a draw than the beer. Change of management and the games stopped being shown. Ooh. Yep. That's okay. That is sad. I wonder if that really is a problem happening in Britain, with pubs not making enough money, people not really being interested in going to them anymore. I would think back in the day, before the internet, before cell phones, even before TV, the pub served an even more critical role in the community as literally a community like meeting point where everyone could go and entertain themselves basically by meeting their friends or people in their community, talking, having a good time, relaxing. And there wasn't as much entertainment back then, back in the day. So the pub was like maybe your primary source of entertainment. Whereas now, maybe pubs are dying because people are not completely reliant on pubs for their entertainment. Maybe that has something to do with it. 4 to 5 times a week. Sheesh, another person saying 4 to 5 times a week. 90% of the time, I have one beer because it's on my way home from work. Yes, a lot of people saying they'll go and poke in for breakfast, poke in before work or after work, or yes, it's very interesting. I'm getting a much better idea of the different versatile ways people will just stop into a pub for a nice little time, then go home. Maybe every night or every morning, and that's not considered weird. Once a fortnight or month, when me and the other half are off, we'll go down for 3 to 4 and have some food, but I'm in there most days for a short time. Wow. In there most days, just for a brief time. That's a little different as well. Usually you don't spend a small time in a bar. It's kind of maybe your whole night out, or you'll go to a couple different bars. Always support your local. Your local. Even if you pop in for a pint a week, you'll miss it if it's gone. A lot of people pointing out that you gotta support your local or it might disappear. Gee, it's kind of scary. Maybe once or twice a year with friends. Our nearest pub is 5 miles away. Doesn't allow under 14s. Oh my gosh, just the fact that if 14 would be considered outrageous in America, but this is like not the norm. So children can be let into pubs, from what I understand. But if you don't want straight up children in the pub, sometimes they will ban 14 and under. 14 would still be considered crazy, like illegal, actually. Illegal to have an American bar, I think. The next nearest pub is very family friendly. See, yeah, the family friendly. The family friendly pub. That's all you got to hear as an American to just instantly understand pubs are not bars. Not at all. There's no family friendly bar. That's like, doesn't even make sense. What else do we got here? I used to go 2 to 3 times a week. It's been refurbished, and it's a sub-village in Rotherham with a pint of Moretti at $6.50. We'll just grab the equivalent from Aldi next door and sit in the garden. Oh, the beer has become too expensive for this person, but they used to go 2 to 3 times a week. 2 to 3 times a week again. Again, much higher than Americans go to the bar. Much, much higher. I'm lucky enough to have a local that is good, old-fashioned community boozer with beer at decent prices. Everyone knows each other. We celebrate together. We grieve together. It's bloody brilliant. This takes the cake right here. This kind of represents everything that I have come to understand about pubs. You might go in 2 to 3 times a week. Maybe most people do. I'm lucky enough, if you have a good local, you're just there to have an old-fashioned good time. Beer, hopefully at decent prices. Everyone knows each other, so it's a community. Y'all celebrate together, cry together, talk about stuff. It's really nice, honestly. Like when I just picture this whole scene. It's very nice, it's very cozy. It kind of puts a warm feeling inside of you. I hope it's really not dying in Britain, because that makes me a bit sad, because I really like this idea. And it sure as heck does not exist in America, so I really only do have this image in my mind. But the image in my mind of what a pub is has grown and evolved to a much, much more accurate picture, I think. Especially after this. This was very helpful, learning about how often some Brits tend to go to the pub. I know this was kind of a random sampling of answers to this question, from random Brits, but maybe that made like kind of a good general idea for me that many Brits, it's not that crazy to go to the pub 2 times a week, 3 times, maybe 4 times, some people 5, and really what you're doing there can vary greatly, like enormously, which is fascinating. The pub is so much more than what I realized it was, and that's very cool to learn about. So I enjoyed this. Anyway, if you enjoyed this as well, feel free to give this video a like or leave a comment. And if you're interested in more videos like this, me reacting to Britain and British culture and stuff about Britain that I have never learned before, feel free to subscribe for more. And until then, thanks for watching, and see you next time.